Hey guys, so here I am reading from the Four Agreements. I'm on the first agreement chapter, page 35, and I wanted to share some of this with you. Whenever we hear an opinion and believe it, we make an agreement, and it becomes part of our belief system. This little girl grew up, and even though she had a beautiful voice, she never sang again. In the previous pages, they told a story about how her mom came home with a headache, and she loved her daughter very much, absolutely adored her, and loved her unquestionably. But she had come home from a bad day at work, had a headache, and her daughter, joyously singing very loudly throughout the night, finally made her blow a fuse. And she said to her daughter, you have a very ugly voice. Can you stop singing? Nobody wants to hear it. Well, that in turn, even it was just one moment in time, one sentence in a zillion sentences of love that she may have given to her daughter. In that one sentence, she destroyed her daughter's ability to fully speak, much less sing. And she became shy and withdrawn and never sang again, because in hearing that, the little girl made an agreement with herself to believe it, and a black magic spell was cast. Back to the book. The little girl grew up, and even though she had a beautiful voice, she never sang again. She developed a whole complex from one spell. This spell was cast upon her by the one who loved her the most, her own mother. Her mother didn't notice what she did with her word. She didn't notice that she used black magic and put a spell on her daughter. She didn't know the power of her word, and therefore she isn't to blame. She did what her own mother, father, and others had done to her in many ways. They misused the word. Now, in the Four Agreements, when it speaks about the first agreement, being impeccable with your word, just to clarify, impeccable comes from the Latin word that's close to pecado, which is how you say it in Spanish. Pecado means to sin. So impeccable is to be without sin. And in the way that the Toltec book here describes sin, it refers to anyone that goes against themselves. Because how can you be good to others if you are not good to yourself? So sin in this term means to be against yourself, as opposed to loving yourself. She didn't notice she misused the word. How many times do we do this with our own children? We give them these types of opinions, and our children carry that black magic for years and years. People who love us do black magic on us, but they don't know what they do. That is why we must forgive them. They don't know what they do. Of course, from the Bible. Another example. You awaken in the morning feeling very happy. You feel so wonderful, you stay 1 or 2 hours in front of the mirror, making yourself beautiful. Well, one of your best friends says, "What has happened to you? You look so ugly. Look at the dress you are wearing. You look ridiculous." That's it. That is enough to put you all the way down in hell. Maybe this girlfriend just told you this to hurt you. And she did. She gave you an opinion with all the power of her word behind it. If you accept the opinion, it becomes an agreement now. And you put all your power into that opinion. That opinion becomes black magic. Anytime anybody tells you who you are, what you feel, what your reality is, understand there is black magic happening. Be aware of it and own your own kingdom. Don't let others design it or alter it for you. These types of spells are difficult to break. The only thing that can break a spell is to make a new agreement based on truth. The truth is the most important part of being impeccable with your word. On one side of the sword are the lies which create black magic. And on the other side of the sword is the truth that has the power to break the spell of black magic. Only the truth will set us free. Looking at every human interactions, imagine how many times we cast spells on each other with our word. Over time, this interaction has become the worst form of black magic, and we call it gossip. Gossip is black magic at its very worst, because it is pure poison. We learned how to gossip by agreement. When we were children, we heard the adults around us gossip all the time, openly giving their opinion about other people. They even had opinions about people they didn't even know. Emotional poison was transferred along with the opinions, and we learned this as the normal way to communicate. Now, just because we've been programmed in this way doesn't mean that we cannot sovereignly clear ourselves of this sort of thing by being impeccable with our word, by not allowing others to alter what is your truth. The only one that can alter your truth is you, in your heart. At least that's the way it should be. That will cause the least confusion. And if you're constantly seeking, and if you're constantly refining yourself, not allowing others to tell you what refinement is and when it is being done to you, for example, little by little, patience and with time and with perseverance, you will free yourself. A lot of people talk about freedom like, ooh, freedom. No, but what does freedom actually mean? I think it's the space that you allow yourself to be the best version of yourself that you can be. And from there, create your reality. First, you have to dig yourself out of your old reality. How old are you? How much has been done to you? How much have you done to others? Take that into account. How long will it take you to swim through all that? To your place of freedom, to your place where you are free to create. And once there, what will you create? Will you create fear, doubt, division? Will you block yourself in or block others out? Or will there be what the law of one calls unity? The truth of love. Back to gossip. Gossip has become the main form of communication in human society. It has become the way we feel close to each other, because this makes us feel better to see someone else feel as badly as we do. There is an old expression that says, misery likes company, and people who are suffering in hell don't want to be all alone. Fear and suffering are an important part of the dream of the planet. They are how the dream of the planet keeps us down. Using the analogy of the human mind as a computer, gossip can be compared to a computer virus. The computer virus is a piece of computer language written in the same language all the other codes are written in, but with a harmful intent. This code is inserted into the program of your computer when you least expect it, and most of the time without your awareness. After this code has been introduced, your computer doesn't work quite right. Or if it doesn't function at all, because the codes get so mixed up with so many conflicting messages that it stops producing good results. Human gossip works exactly the same way. For example, you are beginning a new class with a new teacher, and you have looked forward to it for a long time. On the first day of class, you run into someone who took the class before, who tells you, quote, oh, that instructor was such a pompous jerk. He didn't know what he was talking about, and he was a pervert too. So watch out. You're immediately imprinted with the word and the emotional code the person had when saying this. But what you are not aware of is his or her motivation in telling you. This person could be angry for failing the class or simply making an assumption based on fears and prejudices. But because you have learned to ingest information like a child, some part of you believes the gossip and you go on to the class. As the teacher speaks, you feel the poison come up inside you, and you don't realize you see the teacher through the eyes of the person who gave you that gossip. Then you start talking to other people in the class about him, and they start to see the teacher in the same way, as a jerk and a pervert. You really hate the class, and soon you decide to drop out. You blame the teacher, but it is gossip that is to blame. All of this mess can be caused by one little computer virus. One little piece of misinformation can break down communications between people, causing every person it touches to become infected and contagious to others. Imagine that every single time others gossip to you, they insert a computer virus into your mind, causing you to think a little less clearly every time. The image that is then imagine that in an effort to clean up your own confusion and get some relief from the poison, you gossip and spread these viruses to someone else. Now imagine this pattern going on in a never-ending chain between all the humans on Earth. The result is a world full of humans who can only read information through circuits that are clogged with poisonous, contagious viruses. Once again, this poisonous virus is what the Toltecs called the mitote, the chaos of 1,000 different voices all crying to talk at once in the mind. Even worse are the black magicians or computer hackers who intentionally spread the virus. Think back to a time when you or someone you know was angry with someone else and desired revenge. In order to seek a revenge, you said something to or about that person with the intention of spreading poison and making that person feel bad about him or herself. As children, we do this quite often, thoughtlessly, but as we grow older, we become much more calculated in our efforts to bring other people down. Then we lie to ourselves and say that person received a just punishment for their wrongdoing. When we see the world through a computer virus, it is easy to justify the cruelest behavior. What we don't see is the misuse of our word in putting us deeper into hell. For years, we have received the gossip and spells from the words of others, but also from the way we use our words with ourselves. We talk to ourselves constantly, and most of the time we say things like, oh, I look fat, I look ugly, I'm getting old, I'm losing my hair, I'm stupid. I never understand anything, I will never be good enough, and I'm never going to be perfect. Do you see how we use the word against ourselves? We must begin to understand what the word is and what the word does. If you understand the first agreement, to be impeccable with your word, you begin to see all the changes that can happen in your life. Changes first in the way you deal with yourself, and latter in the way you deal with other people, especially those you love the most. Personally, this week, so much of this chapter rang true. Changes first in the way you deal with yourself. In being impeccable with my word, which has not been easy, especially when I had a lot of people in the last few months on a daily basis lovingly telling me how to fix myself or what was wrong with me. Have you ever had that? Loving, caring, controlling people telling you how to fix yourself. It was a little confusing. They spoke a lot of love into me too. Hence the misbalance. Found myself suddenly trying to I found myself suddenly off balance, striving in resistance, conflicted, put out a call to the universe, to Father, to Mother, to my higher self, and said, I want out in ease and joy and glory. And by out, I mean to a place where I can feel my whole list. And when I really meant it, when I thoroughly got rid of the fear and the desire to be needed or to need, it happened quickly. Was there ease and joy and glory in it? In the truth? Always. Does it feel comfortable? Was it surprising? Did it take me aback? Yes. But that's truth. Changes first in the way you deal with yourself, and later in the way you deal with other people, especially those you love the most. It will take a minute to recover. It will make you more sovereign. Consider how many times you have gossiped about the person you love the most to gain the support of others for your point of view. How many times have you hooked other people's attention and spread poison about your loved ones in order to make your opinion right? I was on the other end of this past week. I didn't want to admit it, but considering because nobody wants to let go of being loved and appreciated. Nobody wants to let go of home again. But the quick turnaround, does this make me doubt their love? No. Does it make me realize that their ego stood stronger? And that fear and doubt crept in such ways that it was easy to turn on a loved one. They had done nothing to harm them. It was an interesting position to be in. But it's in the speed of letting go that I recognize. It's a way of graduation in the spiritual realms. Can you recognize it and not take offense? Part of me still wants to, but they're the corners, the edges, and they're scattered. Mostly I'm just sad. But not for myself. Welcome to spiritual growth. It's a resignment. It's an understanding. It's an acceptance. Layered in between with love. Not just for them, but for myself. May this message reach those in similar circumstances and bring them peace, even if it's just for the length of this video. You are not alone. In ways, this is growth. How many times have you looked at other people's attention and hooked other people's attention and spread poison about your loved ones in order to make your opinions right? Your opinion is nothing but your point of view. It's not necessarily true. Your opinion comes from your beliefs, your own ego, and your own dream. We create all this poison and spread it to others just so we can feel right about our own point of view. If we adopt the first agreement and become impeccable with our word, any emotional poison will eventually be cleared from our mind and from our communication in our personal relationships, including with our pet, or dog, or cat. You hear that, guys? Sheena's on the dash, Dexter's on the back. Impeccably of the word will also give you, impeccability of the word will also give you immunity from anyone putting a negative spell on you. What's my win of this latest test? If I could find a pen, I'd underline it here. Impeccability of the word will also give you immunity from anyone putting a negative spell on you. If someone's done that to you recently or in the past that you can recall, and you can see it, you can peacefully walk away from it, even if you're shoved through the door. Literally. No, that's a win. Acknowledge it as a win. Grieve it. And move on. Not all wins are the type of thing you celebrate. Some of them you grieve. Recognition of it. And that's okay. There's no rules to these things. There's just the truth that you need to know to feel more whole within yourself. You will only receive a negative idea if your mind is fertile ground for that idea. When you become impeccable with your word, your mind is no longer fertile ground for words that come from black magic. Instead, it is fertile for the words that come from love. You can measure the impeccability of your word by your level of self-love. How much you love yourself and how you feel about yourself are directly proportionate to the quality of integrity of your word. When you are impeccable with your word, you feel good, you feel happy, and at peace. You can transcend the dream of hell just by making the agreement to be impeccable with your word. Right now, I'm planting that seed in your mind. Whether or not the seed grows depends upon how fertile your mind is for the seeds of love. It is up to you to make this agreement with yourself. I am impeccable with my word. Nurture this seed, and as it grows in your mind, it will generate more seeds of love to replace the seeds of fear. The first agreement will change the kind of seeds your mind is fertile for. One last time, my baby girl. She's sporting a new outfit, but you can't really see it. Impeccability of word. One last thing in closing means to not sin against yourself by planting fears and doubts in your heart and mind with your words, or allowing others to do it. All right, guys. Till next time. Adieu.